Tobago on Tobago Updates. Now we have been joined by Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt-Angus, who's the former presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly and the political leader of the IDA. Good morning and welcome to you. How are you?
Good morning, Kandace. Good morning to our listeners and viewing audience, wherever you are.
Great to have you this morning. And now, Dr. Angus, I would just want to start off our conversation with just some brief comments or I don't know, just your synopsis on what transpired in the House yesterday.
Okay. So, Candice, I have not seen the whole tape. I've seen the clip of the chief secretary walking out after the presiding officer made a ruling. And, it is quite unfortunate that the lack of statesmanship being displayed in the House over time continues to just go lower and lower and lower. You often hear me talk about the lateness of the persons going into the House.
Yes.
They canceled the last sitting. And now you have a chief secretary who walks out on his own presiding officer who made a ruling in the fairness of the House. And that really speaks to, a branding that he is developing for himself, one that is one who seems to walk out when he can't get his way. Because I can't say that that was a political decision. If it's a political decision, then the rest of his members would walk out with him.
Well,
So it's not a
Dr. Angus,
political decision. But if
just
you're having a personal decision to walk out, that is a challenge because it sends a message that I don't respect the people of Tobago who put me in there as a representative to speak once a month on their behalf.
Well, Dr. Angus, before the minority spoke during when the chief secretary was making his contribution to the debate, he did say that he had another function at the Happy Haven School that that he wanted to attend because he wanted to support some of the work that they were doing, and so he said that after his he did indicate that after he spoke that he would be leaving to go there, but there was the impression that a
Right.
lot of people got that he left primarily because of what was said
So
in by the minority. How do you handle that one?
And so, Candice, that is why I said that I didn't have the opportunity to view what came before, but what I saw was just that clip.
Okay.
Okay, so I said that before I made my presentation just now. So I don't know where he had to go or wherever. And this is where people need to understand of how you do things. Sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you do. Okay, because coming upon that whole debacle between the presiding officer and the minority leader, all of that, you basically just get up and walk out of the house. Okay? I have to look at the tape to see if even he paid respects to the presiding officer before he left, because there is a protocol in order to do it. So either way, it just did not look well. It also speaks to when, he came over the mic disrespecting the clerk of the house, saying, well, she don't know anything anyway. And there are a number of instances. It's too many, one right after the other, too many. Okay? So
So this week we had the birth of a new political party, I should say, the TPP. What are your views on this? And I mean, especially knowing the situation that led to the formation of this party.
right. And in the formation of the party, because I like to say form follows function, really what is the party on in terms of, their ideology? Is it different from the ideology of the PDP? Is it going to be the same? You know, um, what are the tenets that it was formed on? Uh, and these are questions we have to ask ourselves. Was it a political difference, and a difference of political ideology? Why the group of independents left the PDP, or was it through personal um, differences
Hmm.
that they left? And I think that's a question that really needs to be answered. And the next part of it, we keep saying political party, but unless this party and the name was approved by the EBC before they went into their deliberations on the 17th, then essentially, according to the process, they have a name. But that party, that name now has to be submitted to the EBC as an application, and they have to satisfy the EBC that this name can be used. So it's really up to the EBC whether this name will be used or not, and therefore we have some type of entity, but it really there's no validity to it.
Mhm. Well, they are headed in that direction. I know that they are making their ways to register the party, but I mean, they are here. They are the force. I mean, they had to reform themselves essentially, because this is the political system that we have here in Tobago, where we need. I mean, we need to have the political parties to go forth into an election. But you mentioned that there were
We
some
don't.
questions
We
that were
don't. We can.
unanswered as
Yeah,
to why there was
excuse me,
the
Candice.
fallout in the first place from the PDP. So then, do you think that these people, that this two party, would be competent enough to go forth into this new direction and be competent enough to continue being a force in Tobago?
Well, I'm happy you talk about the word competence, because to date we have not seen the competence that is required to take Tobago, or to catapult Tobago to the next level.
Mm.
Our economy took a big lashing, like other economies, but our economy in Tobago took a big lashing. Many of our businesses are struggling. Even supermarkets where persons need to be eating regularly, they are struggling. Okay? They're not seeing the persons coming in as before. And so that sends a message that whatever they're doing right now is not resonating with growing the Tobago economy. Yes, monies are being spent, but it is not resonating in the Tobago economy. And very soon we will begin to see more businesses actually closing. And that's very unfortunate, because in the Tobago space right now, we need to focus on building a robust private sector that can really help Tobago to develop in the way that it is supposed to, in the rapidity of the needs of the people for it to develop in that way.
Mhm.
And we are not seeing that from this administration. The decisions that they have taken have not augured well throughout the sector, throughout the business sector, and even in the banking sector, because the banks are now highly speculative of who they give loans to, because they no longer have confidence in the administration. And that therein lies the problem that we have in Tobago right now. So we have a bigger challenge on our hands than just forming a name
Mm.
of people. And and it's important that we begin to start thinking, and I know Tobagonians are wise people. I have all confidence that Tobagonians are very wise people.
Hmm.
And in the last election, we saw it is not just PDP voters that came out and voted for the PDP, like some people would like you to think. We had PNM people who voted for PDP, and people who don't normally vote came out and voted for the PDP to give them that opportunity to be the change that Tobago wanted.
Now,
And I
Dr.
have no
Angus,
doubt with whatever is going on now that the people of Tobago will come out and vote on the caliber of leadership that we now need in the Tobago space to take us to the next level.
Now, Dr. Angus, over the past week, we've had a lot of conversation in the Tobago space about what was happening with the licensing division and the officers being here in Tobago. We had the chief secretary speak out against it, but also yesterday we had the Minister of Transport and the head of the licensing division in Trinidad saying that no one is above the law and they are going to continue the exercises in Tobago. The chief secretary pointed out that there were some issues in terms of it had a negative effect on transportation, for instance, and some parts of the economy. But so, what's the IDA's position on the operation of the licensing division in Tobago?
It's not what, but how you handle things. Yeah? And if you're managing an island, you're not just making statements for political gain, seemingly, but you need to have a sit down with the licensing office, understand from them what are their challenges from what they're doing, and therefore what they've set out to do, and you'll come to a decision on how it's being done such that it does not affect the tourism product that we have in Tobago.
Hmm.
But then again, you have to ask yourselves, have we looked at the evidence as to how much vehicular accidents we have in Tobago or even elsewhere throughout the country, and what is the underlying cause of some of those accidents? I know many persons cannot get payment from other insurance companies because people have not had their cars insured. They may not have had their license. So you can't just look at them coming to Tobago. Remember, they said in Trinidad they do this daily.
Hmm.
They're coming once a month to Tobago. And so you have to look at the whole picture. You cannot just take out one piece just for political mileage and deal with that. You have to look at the whole picture. If you're in leadership, you have to have regular sit down with these different state entities and find out how they're operating in Tobago to make sure that it is in alignment with your policies and the vision you have for the people. And, it is unfortunate that it came on the back of some incident that occurred, personal incident within his
Yes.
household that occurred with the licensing office. So, you asking yourself, was this truly a valid, or just a lash at them
Hmm.
because of retaliation for what they did? And, um, sometimes you have to ask yourself, the fickleness of the decisions of Fali. It's really sometimes you have to shake your head and wonder, really,
Yes.
what, why now,
But
what?
Dr. Angus, we had a lot of people within the Tobago space, complain about just about how harsh it seemed that the licensing officers came down on Tobagonians. And in a situation like that, had the IDA been in the seat of the THA, how would you have handled that situation?
You first have a conversation with the officers, find out what's going on so you could bring a comprehensive statement to the people of Tobago.
Okay.
Okay? Because many of us have had to go to funerals to mourn our young people, families in grief over the accidents. and what is the cause of the accident. We don't have the statistics. They need to give us the statistics that gives them the grounds to do what they're doing. And then we make a decision. Okay, these are the statistics. Well, I think you're all going overboard with what you're doing, given what the statistics are. Or, okay, I now understand what you're doing.
Mm.
And then you come to the people with a comprehensive statement as to not just lashing them. And I know it's all politics, but we have to move past. Yeah? Because that statement has not helped the people of Tobago. How has the statement helped us? Statement hasn't helped us. But I sit down with them and an understanding, and then coming to our Tobago people to say, well, this is what it is. This is why they're doing it based on these statistics. And therefore, I have asked them to be more respectful when they stop you,
Mm.
right? Because I can now see the validity of what they're doing. Or I came out of that meeting and I don't agree with their position.
And I mean, even in the situation where we've had businesses been so negatively affected, I mean, we saw, like you experienced it over the past few days, there were less people on the roads and so on. So then how do we start to balance that? Like, what proposals would you make to the licensing division to sort of, provide a way for that the people of Tobago are able to be compliant with the regulations, especially the new demerit system? I know, and it's not something that it has been in the works since perhaps since 2014 or maybe before that, but this is the first time that we're seeing it enforced in such a harsh way.
Well, I mean, I don't know, again, have y'all in the media, you said this has been going on for a while, yeah? But we have a responsibility to educate the people. So have y'all invited the licensing office to
Yes, we
share
have.
with the new, but it can't just be once. They have to do it over and over again. So you have a collaboration, whether it's the THA has a collaboration with the licensing office to really educate and make the people aware over and over as to what really is taking place. And you see, you are able to say, yes, you have, but I couldn't say it. And that's because, having it done once is never enough when you're trying to create change and transformation within a community. You have to have repeated messages that keep going out to the people, advising the people what you're doing, what are the statistics, and why you're doing what you're doing. And then the people will begin to come on board with it. You also have to look at the practices. Were they being disrespectful when they stopped people? Because that is absolutely unacceptable. Okay? And
Mhm.
again, the same way where you're working to increase education and awareness with the people, you're talking to the licensing people that listen. Tobago Tobago's economy is small. Tobago's economy thrives on, tourism and, just in people getting about to do their business. And I'm pleading with you, asking you that it is done in a respectful manner. There are lessons to be learned on all sides, but at the end of the day, we have to be able to see from the statistics that this is really about protecting the people when they don't even know themselves they need to be protected.
All right, Dr. Angus. And just very quickly before you go, because we just have about a minute left for this conversation. Um, Minority Leader Kevin Morris called for the elections now. Does the IDA support that? And are you guys ready? Very quickly.
Well, I think we have to know what it takes to call an election. An election is called when those representatives around the table agree to put up their hand and say, we are dissolving the House. And many of those representatives, their personal salaries will be affected. Many of them don't have jobs to go back into. Many of them are not even sure that in this new party, Fali is going to choose them to go up as representatives, or if they are chosen, whether they would win their seats. So I rather doubt that any of those representatives right now, even if Fali wanted to call an election, he would not be able to convince them to put up their hand and dissolve the house before the time, because it will affect significantly their personal living. Many of them have bought cars. They need to be able to pay it off. Where they're going to pay it off if they walk out of the house now and call an election. So it's all of those, that the representatives, the cards lie in not the chief secretary's hands, but in the representatives around the table. Those are where the cards lie for calling an election.
Is the IDA ready?
The idea is always in preparation for whatever comes. Yes, we are.
All right, great to
Yes,
hear. All right,
always continue to be in preparation.
Dr. Angus, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure speaking with you this morning. But viewers, don't go anywhere because we have a lot more coming up for you after the break.